Hi, and welcome to the final day of our second week of readings in the Genesis 20-day read through. So that means we're on day 10, and we've entitled this Overcoming Grief. You'll see why when I read it out. Well done, because by the end of listening to this, you have listened to half of Genesis. We are at the halfway point when we get over this last hill, and then you're on the way down. And I always think when I'm out running, the second half is always easier because actually I've done most of it. Most of the work's done. So let's get over this this day, and then it will be downhill from there. That doesn't sound good, but we will be in the final stretch. We will be on the homeward bound run. So yeah, overcoming grief. Genesis chapters 23, 24, and 25. Reading from the NIV. Genesis 23. Sarah lived to be 127 years old. She died at Kiriath Arba, that is, Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep over her. Then Abraham rose from beside his dead wife, and he spoke to the Hittites. He said, I am a foreigner and a stranger among you. Sell me some property for a burial site here so that I can bury my dead. The Hittites replied to Abraham, Sir, listen to us. You are a mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our tombs. None of us will refuse you his tomb for burying your dead. Then Abraham rose and bowed down before the people of the land, the Hittites. He said to them, If you are willing to let me bury my dead, then listen to me and intercede with Ephron, the son of Zohar, on my behalf, so that he will sell me the cave of Machpelah, which belongs to him and is at the end of his field. Ask him to sell it to me for the full price as a burial site among you. Ephron the Hittite was sitting among his people, and he replied to Abraham in the hearing of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of his city. No, my lord, he said. Listen to me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead. Again Abraham bowed down before the people of the land, and he said to Ephron in their hearing, Listen to me if you will. I will pay the price of the field. Accept it from me so that I can bury my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham, Listen to me, my lord. That land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? Bury your dead. Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms and weighed out for him the price that he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weight current among the merchants. So Ephron's field near Machpelah, near Mamre, both the field and the cave in it, and all the trees within the borders of that field, were deeded to Abraham as his property in the presence of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of the city. Afterward, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre, which is at Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So the field and the cave in it were deeded to Abraham by the Hittites as a burial site. Genesis 24. Abraham was now very old, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. He said to the senior servant in his household, the one that he had in charge of all that he had, Put your hand under my thigh. I want you to swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, that you will not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I am living. But you will go to my country and to my own relatives and get a wife for my son Isaac. The servant asked him, What if the woman is unwilling to come back with me to this land? Shall I then take your son back to the country from which he came?" "Oh, make sure you do not take my son back there," Abraham said. "The Lord, the God of heaven, who brought me out of my father's household and my native land, and who spoke to me and promised me on oath, saying, 'To your offspring I will give this land,' he will send his angel before you, so that you can get a wife for my son from there. If the woman is unwilling to come back, then you can be released from this oath of mine. Only don't take my son back there." So the servant put his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham and swore an oath to him concerning this matter. Then the servant left, taking with him 10 of his master's camels, loaded with all kinds of good things from his master. He set out for Aram Naharaim and made his way to the town of Nahor. He had the camels kneel down near the well outside the town. It was towards evening, the time that women go out to draw water. Then he prayed, "Lord, God of my master Abraham, make me successful today, and show kindness to my master Abraham. See, I am standing beside this spring, and the daughters of the townspeople are coming out to draw water. May it be that when I say to a young woman, 'Please let down your jar so that I may have a drink,' and she says, 'Drink, and I'll water your camels too,' let her be the one you have chosen for your servant Isaac. But by this, I will know that you have shown kindness to my master." Before he had finished praying, Rebekah came out with a jar on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, son of Milcah, who was the wife of Abraham's brother Nahor. The woman was very beautiful. A virgin, no man had ever slept with her. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up again. The servant hurried to meet her and said, "Please give me a little water from your jar." "Drink, my lord," she said, and quickly lowered the jar to her hands and gave him a drink. After she had given him a drink, she said, "I'll draw water for your camels too, until they have had enough to drink." So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough, ran back to the well to draw more water, and drew enough for all the camels. Without saying a word, the man watched her closely to learn whether or not the Lord had made his journey successful. When the camels had finished drinking, the man took out a gold nose ring weighing a becker, and 2 gold bracelets weighing 10 shekels. Then he asked, "Whose daughter are you? Please tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night?" She answered him, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, born to Nahor." And she added, "We have plenty of straw and fodder, as well as room for you to spend the night." Then the man bowed down and worshipped the Lord, saying, "Praise be to the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not abandoned his kindness and faithfulness to my master. As for me, the Lord has led me on the journey to the house of my master's relative." The young woman ran and told her mother's household about these things. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, and he hurried out to meet the man at the spring. As soon as he had seen the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's arms, and had heard Rebekah tell her what the man had said to her, he went out to the man and found him standing by the camels near the spring. "Come, you who are blessed by the Lord," he said. "Why are you standing out there? I have prepared the house and a place for the camels." So the man went into the house, and the camels were unloaded. Straw and fodder were brought for the camels, and water for him and his men to wash their feet. Then the food was set before him. But he said, I will not eat until I have told you what I have to say. Then tell us, said Laban. So he said, I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has blessed my master abundantly, and he has become wealthy. He has given him sheep, cattle, silver, gold, male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. My master's wife, Sarah, has borne him a son in her old age, and he has given him everything he owns. And my master made me swear an oath and said, you must not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I live, but go to my father's family and to my own clan and get a wife for my son. Then I asked my master, what if the woman will not come back with me? And he replied, the Lord, before whom I have walked faithfully, will send his angel with you and make your journey a success, so that you can get a wife for my son from my own clan and from my father's family. You will be released from my oath if, when you go to my clan, they refuse to give her to you. Then you will be released from your oath. When I came to the spring today, I said, Lord God of my master Abraham, if you will, please grant success to the journey on which I have come. See, I am standing beside this spring. If a young woman comes out to draw water and I say to her, please let me have a little water from your jar, if she says to me, drink and I'll draw water for your camels too, let her be the one the Lord has chosen for my master's son. Before I finished praying in my heart, Rebecca came out with a jar on her shoulder. She went down to the spring and she drew water, and I said to her, please give me a drink. She quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, drink and I'll water your camels too. So I drank and she watered the camels also. I asked her, whose daughter are you? And she said, the daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. Then I put the ring in her nose and the bracelet on her arms, and I bowed down and I worshipped the Lord. I praised the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who led me on the right road to get the granddaughter of my master's brother for his son. Now, if you will show me kindness and faithfulness to my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, so I may know which way to turn. Laban and Bethuel answered, this is from the Lord. We can say nothing to you one way or the other. Here is Rebecca. Take her and go, and let her become the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has directed. When Abraham's servant heard what they said, he bowed down to the ground before the Lord. Then the servant brought out gold and silver jewellery and articles of clothing, and gave them to Rebecca. He also gave costly gifts to her brother and to her mother. Then he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night there. When they got up the next morning, he said, send me on my way to my master. But her brother and her mother replied, let the young woman remain with us 10 days or so, then you may go. But he said to them, do not detain me now that the Lord has granted success to my journey. Send me on my way that I may go to my master. Then they said, let's call the young woman and ask her about it. So they called Rebecca and asked her, will you go with this man? I will go, she said. So they sent their sister Rebecca on her way, along with her nurse and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebecca and said to her, O sister, may you increase to thousands upon thousands. May your offspring possess the city of their enemies. Then Rebecca and her attendants got ready, mounted the camels, and went back with the man. So the servant took Rebecca and left. Now Isaac had come from Beer Lahai Roi, for he was living in the Negev. He went out to the field one evening to meditate. And as he looked up, he saw camels approaching. Rebecca also looked up and saw Isaac. She got down from her camel and asked the servant, who is the man in that field coming to meet us? "He is my master," the servant answered. So she took her veil and covered herself. Then the servant told Isaac all that he had done. Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, and he married Rebekah. So she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Genesis 25, verses 1 up until 19. Abraham had taken another wife, whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Midan, Midian, Ishbak and Shur. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Asherites, the Letushites and the Lemites. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida and Eldar. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac, but while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land in the east. Abraham lived 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years, and he was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, the field Abraham had bought from the Hittites. There Abraham was buried with his wife, Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who lived near Beer, Lahai Roi. This is an account of the family line of Abraham's son Ishmael, whom Sarah's slave Hagar the Egyptian bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael. Listen in the order of their birth. Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, Kedar, Abdeel, Mibshem, Mishma, Dumah, Massa, Hadad, Tamar, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these are the name of the 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and camps. Ishmael lived 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and he was gathered to his people. His descendants settled in the area from Havilah to Shur, near the eastern border of Egypt, as you go towards Asher, and they lived in hostility towards all the tribes related to. Okay, so the eagle-eyed among you will notice that I cut short that last chapter, number 25. Well, we'd had quite a long chapter 24, and 25 goes on to the next big family in our story. It goes into Jacob and Esau, and you are going to be hearing so much about Jacob over next week. I thought it better, actually, to just cut it a tiny bit short, and then you get the narrative flow a little bit better. So that's why I've done that, and you can worry about that next week. But what have we had to chew on of this week? The death of Sarah, and the whole section that we had there is all together in that grief period, because right at the end, when you have Abraham dying, he's laid to rest with Sarah, and there's a completeness about that. It's like when they talk about it, he's buried in the same place, because obviously we have that long talk about how he got the field and bargaining with the Hittites. You can ask me about that if you want more detail, but it seems to me that this whole thing is about overcoming grief, which is our title for today. It's about comfort, and it's sweet, isn't it, really, that Isaac needed a wife. At that point, it became really, really important, and at that point, Abraham realised, possibly because of this advanced age, I need somebody for my son. And we hear that long story, which is actually one of the stories in Genesis that I really quite like, because Rebekah, it's a love story, isn't it? It's a love story, and Rebekah comes and she seems to be in tune with God and in tune with God's Spirit as she offers that hospitality to the servant, and then when her family start going, oh, do you know what? I don't know if I can let her go. Which, why wouldn't you? Why would you want to let your daughter go? She's brave, and she goes, do you know what? No, it's right. I'm ready. And we have that sort of that final piece of the romantic film, the right at the end, where she sees him way off in a field and he's all sweaty from work. It's kind of a pole dark moment. And she goes, who is that? Or at least that's how I imagine it in her head. If you imagine it differently, let me know again. That'd be fantastic. But we have that story, and it does feel like a love story, which amidst quite a lot of difficult stuff this week that we've had to plough through, it's a nice thing to end on. It's a nice thing to end on the love that Rebecca and Isaac have, alongside the love that Sarah and Abraham obviously had, that he really did love her and that he was laid to rest with her, that no one else is quite the same. That's a nice thought, but maybe you disagree. Anyway, whatever you've brought from this text, get ready to discuss it or have ideas. Just interact with the text a little bit. And you're pretty much over halfway, so absolutely fantastic job.